Hello folks, welcome back to the Urban Rider Studio for a demonstration and overview of a product we've had for a little while now. This is the INTERPHONE Ridesync display that can be fitted to your bike and link up with either CarPlay or Android Auto to give you the same function if you're familiar with that in your car, obviously on the bike. If you've got an old bike like me and you haven't got a fancy new digital display, then that could be an appealing option for you. Now I say this is an overview because I haven't been using this. However, it is a used item because Seb from our office team, who does the most amount of commuting of anyone in the office, I think it's 5 days a week pretty much in all types of weather conditions, has been using this for months and he really likes it. He explained his experience quite simply by saying if he'd never used this before, he wouldn't necessarily feel like he was missing out. However, it's very difficult to go back from using it. That's kind of how I feel about my headset in actual fact on my helmet. In as much as before I was using that, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything necessarily, but whenever I go out and I'm wearing a helmet without a headset, so I can't use it for phone calls or for navigation or for music, I really do miss it, and I think the same is true on this occasion. As of the making of this video, these come in at £220, which I will admit to me does sound a bit pricey, especially considering it is optional. You don't need something like this on your bike. I'm not saying that it's not worth that money in terms of the hardware or how it's made, but if you don't need it, then you can save yourself some money there. And one of the things that I think as a counter argument some people will propose, including myself, is that I have a phone which is roughly the same sort of size and has the same sorts of functions if I want to use that on the bike. Of course I can fit this, and I do, with a quad lock. There are a couple of things to bear in mind though, and let me be completely frank, I will keep using my phone. I don't think I'm going to jump to the Interphone, but some things to consider. To use my phone, I've had to buy a quad lock mount. I've also had to buy a vibration dampener as well. And if I wanted the same level of functionality in terms of the battery life of my phone, I'd have to buy a charging unit on top of that. So to use my phone like this display, it is starting to add up. Now I don't have a charging mount for my phone on the bike, but like I say, to make it an apples and apples comparison, I would need that because obviously this is wired into your bike. You can use it using the USB-C. You can use that either using a USB slot on your bike if it has one or if you fitted one to it, or wiring it directly to the battery, meaning that as long as your bike is on, this will still be on as well, so for your whole ride. Whereas with my phone, from using it in the past, without that charging head, I have to be quite conservative with my battery. Now, it will last a decent amount of time, but I do find quite often I'll go out and have to decide whether or not I want to have the screen on when I ride back. Therefore, how much can I get away with just the voice commands over the visual display on the phone itself, things like that. So it is a little bit tricky to use. Then of course, rightly so, the other people I've seen talking about the Interphone will point out the fact that this is sacrificial in comparison to your phone. So if you've got a nice, new, expensive phone that you care for and you really don't want to risk, then of course, this is an option for you. Now that's me playing devil's advocate. You're all grown-ups, make your own decisions, what works best for you. Let's actually go into the hardware on this. The Ridesync has a 5.5-inch display. It's 150mm by 77mm for dimensions, and it's 182 grams. They say it's the slimmest on the market. I haven't seen that many CarPlay devices actually on the market for motorcycles, so I can't contest that, but it does look relatively slim. You fit it with the Quiklox system, so you can see on the back here, obviously you can just slot that into place and it is securely mounted to your bike. Now what you will want to do when you park at least is actually take this with you rather than leaving it on the bike. With weatherproofing, it is IP66 rated, so it will withstand strong jets of water. Now my phone I think is IP68 actually, and I did say recently in a video about how to stay dry on your bike that I prefer things that are around IP67 and upwards. It just gives me a little bit more confidence. But what I will say is that my colleague has been riding through a lot of rain recently and this is still working absolutely fine. What he did say is you'll want to make sure that you use the rubber seal on the USB-C to make sure that there's no water ingress in there, so that when the cable is on the bike but the unit is not, it's still obviously going to be dry, so that when you can plug it in there, it's not going to give you a warning or stop you from using it because of course there's water in there. But it is a tight seal as well. So let's turn it on and link it with my phone and go through some of the settings. Display-wise, I wanted to see how bright this was, technically speaking, but couldn't actually find any specs for that. But I have done a comparison between that and my phone just to sort of see how bright it actually is. And comparing the two of them, you just go into the settings here, let's have a look at the brightness. And yeah, it is actually cranked up to the max. So you can see there actually, it is bright. And again, speaking to my colleague, he's not had any problems seeing this display, even in bright sunlight, which we have had on occasion over the last few months. What you'll see on this, if I open Android Auto, is that you get basic information on there. You don't want it to be too cluttered or to have too much information on there. And of course, you can customize this. And if you've used this in the past, you'll kind of know how that works. So you can use things like Google Maps, you can use Waze. The touchscreen works really well. I have used this with gloves, as has Seb. Obviously, he's been using this for ages now, and he says that actually he very rarely has a problem where he's trying to move through this or navigate it, even with gloves. And these are smaller icons, but you can still get access to them pretty simply. You can open your maps larger, smaller, things like that. Control your music, ring people if you need to, and of course, link this with a headset. Now, INTERPHONE, we previously knew them more for their headsets, and of course, you can use that in conjunction with this. We stock INTERPHONE, we stock Senna. They're basically the same as far as hardware goes, but obviously the interface is slightly different. So if you want messages read out to you when they come in as you're riding, you can click on that, and of course you can dictate a message back if you need to. Again, if you've used this before, you'll know how that works. And that is about it when it comes to the Ridesync. I don't want to invent points to talk about, but if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. I will pass them on to Seb and he can answer those for you. It just gives you a different option as far as having a bit more functionality in your ride. So if you want to check these out for yourself, links can be found in the description. Let us know which one you'd prefer between using your phone or this device in the comment section, and I'll see you soon. Bye.